Hey guys, what is going on? So I just wanted to talk about maintaining size and strength while being on a cut. Now, this is something that I had struggled with in the past. I would constantly go through this cycle of bulking and cutting, but my cuts weren't very successful because I would notice that I would start to lose size and strength because of the caloric deficit that I was in. But you can actually maintain your weight, or at least your muscle weight, and actually improve it in some instances, but it's very easy to also increase your strength while you're in a deficit. And I think this is the main area that I want to talk about in terms of training. So a lot of people have this idea of, if you're trying to lose weight, you want to tone the muscle, and therefore you should do higher reps. Now, this idea is starting to die out, but I notice that even people who don't believe in this logically will still do some form of this to try and lose weight in certain areas without even thinking about it. But I think the main thing that you want to focus on in your training is going to be improving your strength, because the amount of strenuous reps that you do is going to improve the amount of muscle that you build. And strength is a skill. So if your strength skill is underdeveloped, which it is in pretty much everybody, you are going to be able to improve your strength without being in a caloric surplus. Now, it is a little bit more difficult while you are in a deficit, but it is an easier task to improve your strength and therefore be able to improve the maximum amount of work that you can do in the future. It's easier to do this while you're in a deficit than a lot of people think. And in fact, on my most recent cut, I largely maintained all of the muscle that I had, lost 25 pounds, which I would assume is mostly fat, and I was actually able to increase my bench press by 20 pounds. And that's because I shifted my focus from being a more hypertrophy based program or doing higher rep ranges to actually working closer in the 5 rep range. And if you're really focused on 1 rep max or improving your strength, then you can even go in lower rep ranges than that. But obviously you're going to have to improve the amount of sets that you're doing while still keeping your overall volume lower, and then improving your frequency, because frequency is something that you want to increase when you are trying to increase your strength, but it's something you want to lower if you are trying to build muscle, because you want to give your body adequate time to recover from the workouts. Now, the workouts that you're going to be doing when you are cutting should be less strenuous, and you shouldn't be focused on breaking the muscle down, but instead utilizing your muscle to its full potential. So your body's not trying to attack something that it's not using, but then also using the maximum amount of motor units that you can to be able to push that weight so that you can improve your strength while keeping that muscle. Now, in terms of actually expending calories, your workouts are going to be more strenuous for each rep, but your overall workout should be shorter and should become more frequent. But the amount of damage that you're doing and the amount of calories that you're burning in your workouts are going to be lower. So a lot of people are going to try and do cardio, which is great for your heart, but in reality, that's oftentimes going to improve your appetite, and it's not going to be the greatest thing to burn calories for the amount of effort that you're putting out. So what I would recommend is instead taking walks, doing very low stress exercises throughout the day, and just improving your overall movement while not doing any activities that are overall too strenuous. The only strenuous exercise you should be doing are lower rep ranges with the heavy weights that you're using. So this is going to allow your appetite to not be as high as it was when you were bulking. And so you're going to find it easier to eat less, and you are still going to be expending those calories. So you only have to make slight adjustments to your macros to be able to be in a deficit. Now, in terms of dieting, everybody's diet is so different that I don't really want to address any types of foods or anything like that. But the main thing I want to recommend is to not try and go overboard in reducing any type of macronutrient and maintaining a balanced diet. So a lot of people will try and attack carbs, when in fact carbs are going to be one of the main things that your body's going to use for energy. And now that you are in a deficit, your body's going to rely more on any energy source they can find, and therefore you do want to increase the amount of carbs, or not increase, but relatively maintain the amount of carbs that you are consuming. You are probably going to have to go a little bit lower, but don't drastically attack it. Don't try and do a keto diet or anything like that. Now, your body's going to look for other sources of energy, because the reality is you're going to be getting less calories overall. So if you are decreasing the amount of carbs that you're using and also decreasing the amount of fats that you're using, as well as ideally you would maintain your protein, but it depends on what your caloric expenditure is. Your body's going to be looking for other stores of energy because it is in a caloric deficit. So a lot of people say, oh, well, this is where the fat comes in, and that is absolutely true. Fat is a store of energy that your body uses, but your body's not always going to be able to run on fat. So if your body doesn't have adequate carbs in that specific moment, while it may burn fat, there are also other sources that it's going to use, and that's why people see their muscle decrease. And this is because A, they're not using the maximum amount of muscle in their training, which we've already addressed. If you use lower rep ranges and you're actually exerting that muscle, you're going to be able to maintain that muscle a lot better. But your body is also going to go towards protein and different amino acids to break down the muscle to be able to function on this lower amount of calories. Now, one way that we can combat this is by giving our body what it wants to use. So again, I've talked about carbs. Your body's going to want to use carbs first, but you're not always going to be able to be carb loaded at any given time. And this is where certain supplements come in. And the first one that I would recommend is going to be an amino acid supplement. So during our workout, we're probably going to be depleting our carb sources, and our body might look for other sources like our muscle for energy. And even if this isn't the case during the workout, your body's trying to be as efficient as possible, and therefore it's going to use efficient sources of fuel, as well as it's not going to let you hang on to a bunch of muscle that either you're not using or B, is requiring a lot of energy to maintain. So your body is not trying to ruin your gains, but it is trying to be efficient if it is not getting the amount of nutrients that it needs. So one way to combat this, again, is with amino acid supplements. This is going to allow your body to have easy protein sources while still being in a deficit. And it's something that you can sip on while you're at the gym. So this is the main thing that whey proteins are not going to be great at. Most people aren't taking whey proteins with them to the gym. And if they are, they have to mix them with water, which is not always the greatest tasting. A lot of people like to mix them with milk. But with an amino acid supplement, you can take it at the gym. This is going to allow it to be more portable. It's not going to upset your stomach in any way. And it's going to allow the nutrient timing to be more beneficial. So this is not required, but I think it is a useful tool if you are going to have workouts that are longer, or you're going to be away from home where you're not always going to be able to get the optimum nutrition in. So you can use branched chain amino acids, which a lot of people like to use, but I like to use essential amino acids because these have all of the amino acids necessary for muscle protein synthesis, and you're not going to have to supplement with other nutrients to get a full protein. So it's going to have all the amino acids you need. Now these tend to be a little bit more expensive, and I would say use them in times where you need them. If you are able to get a protein shake, totally just do the protein shake. Or if you're going to get a meat source or anything else where you're able to get the amino acids necessary, you don't need to use these, but these are more for timing than anything else. Now, other specific amino acids you can look into that are going to help you maintain that muscle is going to be, probably the most important is going to be glutamine. So glutamine makes up about 60% of our skeletal muscle. It is also our body's preferred protein source for using that energy. So if you have excess glutamine stores, it's going to prevent those muscles from breaking down. And like some of the other amino acids that I'm going to talk about, it helps with growth hormone secretion, which is going to be one of the main hormones that's going to aid in your ability to gain muscle and just overall have a better, happier life. Growth hormone is very important, and I think taking some of these supplements like glutamine and other ones that I'm going to talk about before bed is going to be a good practice, specifically when you're cutting, but also something that you can use throughout your life to be able to retain muscle and be more youthful overall. Another amino acid that I would recommend is going to be L-arginine. This is going to have some of the same benefits. While it is obviously not 60% of your skeletal muscle or anything like that, it is going to help in weight regulation. It is a nitric oxide booster, which is going to help with pumps in the gym, which is going to be encouraging if you are on a cut and you feel like you're getting smaller, this is going to help you feel like you're getting better workouts. And while I haven't really noticed the benefit of this, it is one of the main things that people use. I generally don't go for pumps in the gym, but if that's something that you're into, or you want to take year round, this is something that can help. And again, it's going to help with growth hormone secretion. Another supplement that I recommend that you should take year round is going to be creatine. A lot of people cycle off creatine because they gain water weight. When in fact, this water weight is going to be pretty minimal for a lot of people, including myself. I don't really notice any significant difference when I'm on it or off it in terms of appearance. In fact, most people say that it helps them look more full, but I also notice the performance benefits when I'm using creatine. And while for me personally, it's not as beneficial when I'm using lower rep ranges, I notice it more in high rep ranges. I think it's a cheap enough supplement and it's very beneficial overall that I think there's no reason to really cycle off creatine. So taking these supplements, I think creatine is probably one that you should definitely take. Glutamine is probably the next one, and then arginine is something where, you know, if you can afford to take it, it's totally useful. I recommend taking them before bed because this is going to help with a routine as well as being able to take advantage of the growth hormone secretion, because you are secreting a lot of growth hormone while you are sleeping. So it's going to help with that. Take it on an empty stomach. You can also take these supplements twice daily, so you can do it anytime that's convenient for you, but I would recommend if you're just going to do one dose to do it before bed. So with all those tips, I would say taking those supplements is going to be beneficial in terms of retaining your muscle, making sure that you're using the muscle and making it go through strenuous workouts while not having super taxing workouts. So maybe shortening your workouts and upping your frequency is going to be very beneficial, as well as not partaking in just overall very strenuous workouts such as cardio that are going to increase your appetite. If you do all these things, generally your nutrition is going to fall in line, your appetite is not going to be as high, and you're going to be using the necessary precautions to maintain your muscle, and this is going to allow you to have a very successful cut. Now, in terms of dieting, again, I think so many people have different diets, but as long as you maintain a balanced diet and just slightly decrease your calories, if you are able to increase your energy expenditure throughout the day by just doing simple things such as walking and just eating maybe one less snack here and there, it's going to add up over time, and you're going to be able to, even in more aggressive cuts, maintain that muscle that you have and definitely improve your strength, because it is a skill that you are going to be practicing a lot throughout this cutting phase. And it has helped me to be able to have my very successful cut where I was able to actually improve my bench press 20 pounds while losing 25 pounds of fat, and overall lowering my body fat percentage by a significant degree, helping myself look more aesthetic and everything like that. And overall, I think these tips are going to allow you to have a very successful cut as well. And if you try it, let me know how it works. I would love to know, and I will talk to you soon.